Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, and we are doing another Swiss 6222 Swiss Eldritch Moon Shadows over Innistrad draft. Thanks so much for the comments over all the drafts I've already done, and Travis, of course, tuning in every Monday for him. I know people love Travis. What are we taking here? New Scrap Mob? You know, I played this in my first draft. It was okay. I don't know if it's necessarily worthy of a first pick. It's a pretty good card, no doubt. 6 mana 5/5 is not bad. I don't know if I want to first pick it. I could just take the Greeting. It seems like a good start. It's removal. I have played the Faith Unbroken, which at this point I am willing to say is just a good card. But there are some matchups where you're going to be unhappy you have it. There's never really a matchup where you're going to be unhappy that you have an Alchemist's Greeting. Also, I think, as per usual with Triple Shadows over Innistrad, my favorite archetype is still blue-red. So if I could make it work, blue-red spells, of course, I would. Well, this is kind of awkward. Oh yeah, before I forget, please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. It helps me a lot, and it gets me more exposure on YouTube, which helps get my viewer numbers up, which gets me more exposure. It's kind of a weird little cycle that they have worked out on YouTube algorithms, so it really does help me a lot. Be sure to like the videos as well. That also very much helps. You can check me out on Twitch. Talk to me live, twitch.tv/Inez27. Also support Travis, please, twitch.tv/Semulin. Thank you so much. What is the follow-up pick here? Well, probably the Choking Restraints. It's a good removal spell, and this pack is pretty weak outside of it. Once again, Certain Death is certainly playable, but it's a 6-drop spell, and it's just so easy to fill up your deck with 5 and 6-drop spells. Granted, I did get Alchemist's Greeting, but I was kind of hoping to play that for 2 mana. Okay, so the pick now. In white, we have Geist of the Lonely Vigil and Faithbearer Paladin, both of which are fine. In red, we have Blood Mist and Stensia Banquet, both of which are not that exciting. Blood Mist is actually decent. I'm going to give this card more credit than I initially gave it credit. Stensia Banquet, on the other hand, not so much. The best card in this pack is probably the Enlightened Maniac, which is great for Emerge, or the Ingenious Scab, which is just a card I think is a great common. I could take the Geist of the Lonely Vigil. It's not a super exciting pick, especially considering we're already in white and red, although I'm totally willing to jump out of either of these if need be. I don't know if I like the Ingenious Scab or the Maniac more either. It's too early to tell. Both would be useful in certain archetypes. I think I'm actually going to take the Scab, oddly enough, because it's 3 mana, but more importantly, it's better with the Greeting, which between Choking Restraints and Greeting, I'd prefer to go down the Greeting path, but I don't know. There was nothing super exciting in that pack either. Like, we can take Unsubstantiate here, which is fine. There is a Fury Blade Vampire, which is good with Madness, so it is going to work well with our Greeting. It might be the pick for that reason. There is Unsubstantiate, which is a fine spell. Both of these are uncommon. I don't know which one is going to be better most of the time. I mean, to really abuse this card, you really need to discard a card every turn. If you can, it's very good. If you can't, it's really not that great. Unsubstantiate is a good card to have in the blue-red spells deck. I feel like it's going to pair really well with the Ingenious Scab, whereas Fury Blade a little bit less so. It is going to pair great with the Greeting. I still think I'm going to take the Unsubstantiate, though. All right, so where are we at now? Like, I can take the 2-drop creature, maybe start to move more towards blue-white. The best card in this pack is, well, maybe the Borrowed Malevolence. Bloodbriar is pretty good. Rise from the Grave is okay. I mean, Steadfast Cathar is certainly a playable 2-drop. It's not exactly what the blue-white deck wants. There's not a good red card, and there's not really a good blue card in here, so this pick is a bit of a mess. I guess I could take the Malevolence. I'll take the Cathar just in case. Okay, so we could take the Homunculus here. It's going to be good for the blue-red spells deck, which as of yet we're still unconfirmed whether that's going to work out. But I don't really like Providence that much. I haven't played with or against it yet. Someone on stream, shout out to Randall, suggested that it was that he's played it and he liked it, but I'm just kind of not feeling it right now. I think we're actually going to take the Homunculus. Very speculative pick here. However, this card's going to be really strong if we can make blue-red spells work. Okay, good blue picks here. Well, I shouldn't say good blue picks. I should say blue picks here. So we have Fogwalker, which is evasive, Laboratory Brute, which is good for Delirium. We don't really have a need for either, although Laboratory Brute does sort of turn on Curious Homunculus, which is good. Otherwise, it's just basically a hill giant, a zombie hill giant. Nothing else in here we really care about. Lunarch Mantle has actually been impressing me. It does feel like we're a little bit light in the red. That could be just a problem packs 1 and 3, though. Maybe still be able to make it work pack 2. I'm going to take the Brute here, speculating that it will be good. All right, I mean, there's some red picks here. Another Cathar as well. We could take the Make Mischief. It's better with a spells deck. Falconwrath Reaver is a fine card because it's a Grizzly Bear, but it's not exactly what either of the directions that we want to go want for a card. I think we'll take the Make Mischief. This card has actually been overperforming, in my opinion, overperforming. I think well, basically because it was just looked at as a pretty worthless card, but it's turned out to play reasonably well. So we could take a Field Creeper, which I'm not really feeling either. We're still not very much Delirium. Otherworldly Outburst, which is a spell. I don't know how I feel about it, though. It's not great. It's certainly not a great combat trick. It's okay in response to removal. You get an instant speed 3/2 Eldrazi. Maybe I take it for that reason. Or I could take the Spectral Reserves, which is something a Blue-White Flyers deck would want, and it works fine with Curious Homunculus. I guess I don't really care enough about Otherworldly Outburst to stick with that. I guess we can take the Mutation. The problem with Mutation is it doesn't really work well with a blue-red spells deck so much, because although it is a spell, it's not a instant or sorcery. But Bold Impaler is definitely unimpressive in a build like this, so I guess we'll take the Mutation. Okay, well, take the Faithbearer Paladin, which is very late. There is a Blood Mist, but that's certainly not going to be good for blue-red spells. So maybe we are just blue-white, which is okay. All right, we'll take the Convolute. Well, we're getting late red picks, but I admit they're not great ones. Whatever, we'll take it. Last pick green card. Interesting. Interesting first pack, certainly. So I'd still like to be blue-red, but if we can't make it work, we can't make it work. So I'm just going to have to figure this out. All right, I mean, we can take the Fury Blade Vampire. We can take an Unsubstantiate. I feel as though we're pretty likely blue, which might make Unsubstantiate better. I mean, if we can pick up a Rise from the Tides out of pack 3, that's kind of the problem with the new blue-red deck. You basically need to switch gears and make sure you get good blue-red picks out of packs 1 and 2. It's not like our white cards are great, but our red cards aren't great either. Like, currently our white is better. However, there's not a great white pick here. Like, there's Guardian, which is certainly playable, but it's not an evasive creature. It's more of like, I mean, it certainly works for blue-white because it's a spirit. It's not a super exciting pick. I could just take a second to Unsubstantiate. I'm okay with that. It's a fine tempo card. All right. We're going to take it over the second Vampire. There was an Eldritch Evolution, which actually has a little bit more value than you'd think. But okay, so now we can take Nebelgast Herald. I think we're going to take it over the Drag Under. I like the Drag Under, but Nebelgast Herald might actually work really well if we end up blue-white still, which it looks like we could because there's still not a really good red pick here. I mean, blue-white is going to have a lot of spirits. Okay, so we have the Scuttler, Drag Under, Courageous Outrider. Current human count is 1, 2, not super high. It does look like red's just not working out in either direction. So perhaps it's time to just pull the trigger on blue-white, which I'm okay with. Scuttler is a good card. I'm not sure if I want it here, though. I could just take the Outrider. It's a very good card. Or the Drag Under. I'm kind of looking... I like Drag Under a lot, but we're going to need some actual good creatures, and I guess the main problem is we just don't have a lot of humans yet. We still could end up with a lot more, though. But, I mean, we're going to want some flyers if we're blue-white. I mean, I could take Drag Under. I think Outrider's just a better card. Usually replaces itself, and if it doesn't, then a 4-mana 3/4 is certainly reasonable. Okay, well, then we're immediately past good blue-red spells. But thankfully, Subjugator's in here, which is also just a very good card. Good way to finish on a stalled board state. There's also a Sigardian Priest, which I would very much like to pick up, but we're going to take the Subjugator. Be fine with that. Okay. And then we get past the Thermal Alchemist and Incendiary Flow. Man, this right when I decide to not pull the trigger on blue-red. Isn't that how it always works? I feel as though I've just taken steps that make it too late to jump back to. Going back-to-back white spells and then getting back-to-back good red spells. What a bummer. Well, I think we'll take the Priest here over the Fiendbinder. I like the Fiendbinder, but Priest usually proves itself to be really good. I'm still not super impressed with Cryptolith Fragment either. All right, we'll take the Priest. And once again, like playable red spells, including the Outcast, and now we're dried up on white. What a strange draft this has been. I guess we can take Terrarian. I don't need another Convolute. I'm not going to do a take inventory plan. And maybe there's something I want to splash off Terrarian. Not super likely, but I guess it could help with Delirium as well. So we can take a Guardian here. It's a Spirit. I guess it's going to work well with like Nebelgast Herald, but not that great. It's fine. Borrowed Grace is a great card, so that's a good pickup for us. We could take the Tattered Haunter as well, but I found Borrowed Grace ends games a lot of times, so I think we're going to take it here. It's a very strong card. All right, we'll take the second Guardian. I mean, it's good that we're picking up these not only humans, but cheap spells as well. All right, all the Steadfast Cathars, they're fine. They're a little bit dangerous only because they're 2/1s, but that's okay. So at least we have a lot of humans now, or a good amount of humans at least, for our Courageous Outrider. This deck could use some more removal. Currently we're rocking... I guess we'll take the Standard Bearer. I don't really want it, but removal, we're just rocking a Mutation, some Unsubstantiates, Choking Restraints, and that's it. I guess Sigardian Priest to a certain extent, and Subjugator, sort of temporary removal. It looks like we're probably not going to be on the Curious Homunculus plan, seeming a lot less likely now. I guess I can keep Terrarian in just in case, but all right, take the Fogwalker. Cut the blue card. So this deck certainly needs more flyers. Currently we're just rocking a... It doesn't have to be just flyers. It can also be evasive dudes like Fogwalker. I'd prefer flyers, but Herald, Reserves, Subjugator is just not enough. Blue-white is known to be a flyer deck, so if we don't have a lot of flyers, we're going to certainly have some issues. So we're going to have to prioritize that pretty highly out of pack 3 here. Oh man, then we get Dance with Devils too. All right, I think we actually started off the True Faith Censor. If we're not going to be able to get flyers, although, I mean, we could take the Stormrider Spirit. True Faith Censor is also a high priority because we just have quite a few cheap humans. And Steadfast Cathar bashing at, what, a 4/4/4? That's really good. So I think True Faith is going to be a great card for us. Also with the Faithbearer Paladin. Certainly a worthy first pick here. If I was in the blue-red, obviously Dance with Devils would be insanely good for us, but I bailed at the last possible second. All right, well, Aberrant Researcher is a nice pickup for us, actually. I'd probably take it over the second True Fate Sensor. It's also a human on the front side, so it even works with True Fate Sensor. But like I said, I'd like some more evasion. And we have a reasonable amount of spells. Not a ton, but enough where we could theoretically flip it. And if we can't, I'm just happy to bash with a 3-2 anyway. Hopefully wield this Stormrider Spirit. That would be ideal, but we'll see. Okay, Stitchwing Scab looks like something we could definitely use. Sleep Paralysis is also... What's our removal looking like again? We've got double Unsubstantiate. Probably just ditch the Terrarian now. 2 Unsubstantiates, a Choking Restraints, and I guess a Convolute, which isn't really removal. I mean, Sleep Paralysis is fairly hard removal. Stitchwing Scab might be something we just want a little bit more, though. We just need to make sure that we have enough ways to fly over top and win. It's also pretty good with a True Fate Sensor. Bash for 4 and still be able to block and bring it back at some point. Like, it's also a mana cheaper than it. 1 toughness guys did get worse, though. I do already have 14 creatures. This is kind of tough. I kind of want to take this Sleep Paralysis just because it's pretty premium removal. Not as good against Emerge, but in general pretty good. I guess I'm going to prioritize the removal a little bit higher than the Stitchwing Scab there. Only because I think X1's, like I said, got a little bit worse. Okay, so we could take the Explorer. It's probably better than Captain just because it draws you a card. And it still, obviously still wields a True Fate Sensor quite well. Captain does buff Team, though, which is nice. But I feel like I'd rather draw a card in this deck than pump Team. It's tough to say. They're both probably equally as good, but I think I prioritize drawing a card a little bit more highly. Okay, Inspector, I mean, it's a cheap human that draws you a card. Jeez, and then we get past Devil's Playground. We could have had such a sweet blue-red deck. And I literally bailed the pick before red started showing up. All right, so we can take the Captain or the Inquisitor. I mean, we already have quite a few 4-drops, although at this point I really don't have any need for the Brute. Yeah, we can take the Captain here. Could take the Ghostly Wings. It's not great. It's okay. None of these picks are super exciting. I'm not going to play Homunculus. We have enough creatures. Probably have enough removal. Don't really need a Delirium Enabler. I guess we could take the Choked Estuary just for value. At this point, Fogwalker's probably our least exciting card. How many spirits do we have for our Nebelgast Herald? Not that you need a ton, but we do have the 2 Guardians and the Spectral Reserves, which isn't bad. Okay, Scrutiny is actually a very good card, so we're going to take it over the Companion here, and I'm going to try and definitely make space for it. Seems like something our deck wants. Probably over the Convolute. That's a super late Courier. It's ridiculously late. I don't need a Deny Existence if I already have Convolute. Uncaged Fury would have been good for blue-red, I guess, but we'll hack a Courier. It's certainly the best card remaining. All right, we'll take the Inquisitor. Might even be able to make it work. Geez, and we could have gotten this late of a Pyrohound. I'm never going to get over this. Don't really need the Ox. Maybe I'll just take Macabre Bolts. I've had some problems with that. Actually, Pyrohound in the right deck is definitely a problem. All right, we'll take a second Inquisitor. I don't know if we need multiple Inquisitors. Take a Noble. I mean, this deck has the goods to get there, but it's not like a super impressive deck by any stretch. We did not get a ton of evasion, but we did get a couple pieces of pretty premium removal in Choking Restraints and Sleep Paralysis. Other than that, we just have a couple bounce spells. Scrutiny is actually good. I don't know if we need the mutation in this deck. We probably don't. We're probably doing enough ground combat where I'm not going to be super happy to run mutation. Scrutiny is much better than mutation most of the time, I would say, just because the fact that you draw a card off of it. Like, I'd rather have a one-time effect where I draw a card rather than a one-time effect where I weaken them or... I mean, you can use it as a combat trick, which is nice. So maybe I try and keep it in just for that reason. But it doesn't feel like we're going to be able to put a ton of cards in our graveyard, right? Because even our removal is enchantment based, which just does not pair very well with the mutation. So I think mutation's probably going to get axed right away. Let's separate stuff out here. I probably don't want the convolute. I'd rather do other things. We can pretty easily cut a couple creatures from here. We have 18 with the Spectral Reserves. Probably cut an Inquisitor. Our curve is low enough where we can easily get away with 16 lands too. Mostly 1 and 2 drops, and we have card draw. A few 4 drops, but 1 5-drop, 1 6-drop should be fine. Yeah, this deck's satisfactory. It's probably just as weak as the blue-black deck I just ran, so I'm not feeling super great about this deck. To be honest, I've almost felt like the format hasn't changed that much, if that makes sense. I don't know if anybody else feels that way too, but it almost feels like it's all the, like, obviously we have a lot of new cards, and removal seems like it's gotten a little better, a little cheaper, but I've found all of the archetypes to have pretty much stayed the same in their hierarchy, if that makes sense. So it's like green-white humans, blue-red spells. Those decks are still fantastic. Red-green werewolves is still great. Green-black delirium is still fantastic. All of those archetypes are still good. I'm still unimpressed with blue-white. Blue-green did get better, I'll admit that, because you have the emerge now, and you have both Prey Upon and Clear Shot, which are just great removal spells for green, in addition to, Rabid Bite from the Shadows over Innistrad packs. So you do have that going for green-blue. So green-blue maybe got a little bit better, but I don't like the way this blue-white deck looks. I much would have preferred going in red-blue spells, like I said. Sadly, I bailed at the last possible second that I could have, where then red immediately came back. So that's a bummer, but we're going to have to make the best of it here. This is not an ideal blue-white deck. Like I said, blue-white is typically a lot of flyers. This does not have a lot of flyers. This does have some powerful effects going for it, like we have this consistent human theme. We have Subjugator, so if we have a stalled board state, we can just win out of nowhere. True Fate Censor is very good value with all of the humans we have. We have some flyers, so that'll help. And we have this Borrowed Grace. So between Borrowed Grace and Subjugator Angel, we have these big cards for stalled board states. So if we get to the point where neither player is doing much, we can just win out of nowhere with these cards, which is nice. But I don't think that's a great game plan in general. So overall, I'm going to give this deck a C. And considering that my blue-black deck went 1-2 and was just as weak as this, I'm actually going to rate it lower than... If I would change the rating on my blue-black deck and give that more like a 72%. I think I gave it a 76% before, a higher C. Now I'm giving it a very low C. So I think this is probably in the same territory, a low C, 72%. But this is what we got, so this is what we're going to run. We'll give it a try. It certainly doesn't look unplayable. It's just nothing is reaching out. Once again, we just did not get any bombs. This is a complete bomb-free deck, which is never really where you want to be. Obviously, you want to open or be past bombs and make that work, but looks like we did not make it work. So, all right, here's what we got to work with. Blue-white humans. We'll see how it goes. We'll see you round 1.